In Quentin Tarantino's latest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the acclaimed director and writer once again decided to take a different direction from the path history itself went down. Along with his 2009 film, Inglourious Basterds, each are works that both deal with historical figures and events that both play a pivotal role in each film. Kind of. With this analysis, I pose the questions: why does Tarantino decide it's time for history to take a detour? And, if in my opinion, does it work? Let's begin with Inglourious Basterds. The objective of the protagonists, along with killing as many Nazis as they can muster, is to kill Adolf Hitler, while he attends the premiere of a fictional film. Cinema is going to kill Hitler in more ways than one. The two groups of fictional heroes, the Bastards and Shoshana, are going about this without any knowledge of one another, as well as any knowledge of what is written in the history books. As you watch the final act unfold, it leaves the viewer wondering just how these plans will be foiled. Surely the wildcard of the film's described Jew hunter, Colonel Hans Lander, will involve himself and allow the story to continue along its historical routes. Tarantino and his characters, however, went left when history went right, gleefully unaware that they were rewriting history one bullet at a time. Even Tarantino didn't know how the film would end when he was writing the script. I had no idea I was going to change the course of history until I came to that point in the movie. I started thinking, my characters don't know they're not a part of history. My characters don't know there are any things they can't do. I've never had that kind of guiding principle on any of my characters, ever. And now was not the time to start. So there's a moment towards the end of the movie where history goes one way and I go another. My take on that is that my characters have changed the course of the war. That didn't actually happen because my characters didn't exist. But if they had existed, everything that happens in the movie is quite possible. With Once Upon a Time, well, the title almost gives it away. It's going to get a fairy tale ending much like Inglourious Basterds did with Once Upon a Time in Nazi-occupied France. And by doing so, Tarantino and his characters will rewrite history once more. While I was aware of Sharon Tate's presence going into Tarantino's latest outing, I really wasn't sure just to what degree. While watching the proceedings unfold, I thought this is going one of two ways. Either Sharon Tate's murder is going to tie back to Cliff Booth's assault on one of the Manson family members earlier in the film, or Tarantino is going to save her and have Cliff and Rick Dalton kill the Manson family members in a similar fashion to the Bastards' obliteration of Hitler and the Nazis. This brings up an ethical question, that being, is this respectful? Now, this is the tricky part. Can I absolutely enjoy the idea of Hitler's face getting shredded by machine gun fire before he can get burned to a crisp, while at the same time find it off-putting that Sharon Tate gets to live on in another world? Hitler and a room full of Nazis being slaughtered was what I signed up to when I saw the trailers for Inglourious Basterds.
We're gonna be doing one thing and one thing only: killing Nazis. Sound good? Yes, sir!
And I got given that in abundance. Aldo wanted Nazi scalps, and he gave them to me. It was entertaining, well acted, well crafted, all I wanted and more. It went beyond its original premise of a man on a mission. This, however, might be because of how we've been programmed. Let me explain. I live in a world where killing Nazis for fun and entertainment is accepted. From video games to movies, they are the stock evil entity of the better part of a century in pop culture, and Amazon seemingly can't get enough of them either. With Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I saw a trailer and had no idea what to expect. But it was goddamn Quentin Tarantino, and I was in. While only including little snippets of the Manson family, the trailer does give you the idea that Manson was going to play a bigger role in the film. Is this the fault of the marketing department, or my own or fellow audience members' expectations? Especially given Tarantino's track record with dealing with despicable historical figures in the past. I'm no expert on the Manson murders. I only really ever heard about it while looking into Roman Polanski's past. I actually thought Manson killed her himself and wasn't even aware that Tex was a real person. I thought he was a proxy for Manson in this film. So I thought it odd that it would be the backbone of one of the stories of the film. Which is why I wondered if we even needed Sharon Tate in the film at all. I didn't know all of the details about her or the Mansons or the impact they had, but a friend of mine put it as such. As far as murders go, speaking as a North American, the Manson murders were the O.J. Simpson murder of the 1960s. I think this is a bigger problem in terms of the story and the audience knowledge and expectation. I only really know Tate as the wife of Polanski and the victim of a horrible crime, whilst Hitler is a well-known historical figure. He's taught in history classes all over the world. Tate, on the other hand, feels more of a niche figure, known amongst people in the film industry and fans of Hollywood of that time period. If you're not a part of that audience, she would have been someone you could have easily gone throughout your entire life without ever having heard of her, especially if you were born within the last 30 years. Quentin even expressed fear about this in an interview with Time. On one hand, it bums me out that they don't know more than they do. On the other hand, they're quick. They're almost too quick to look up everything. Whenever I give my film rating to like a millennial to read, they can never get through it because they want to Google every name I mention. I mean, you don't have to know everybody I'm talking about. Every film book I ever read, I expected the guy to know more than me, and I missed to look up things. But back when I was just using the M. Frame Katz Film Encyclopedia, I knew more because you had to know it. It wasn't just, okay, bang, got it. The M. Frame Katz guide, that was our IMDb. I know a decent amount of audience members who went in unaware of Tate's historical significance were left questioning the point of Sharon Tate's scenes as they didn't intersect with any other main character's plots or ultimately lead to or amount to anything other than to show Sharon going about her day. Maybe that was the point. Quentin wanting to give Sharon her life that she was robbed of. It is only when I looked at it through the lens of this being Tarantino's love letter to Tate that I could understand his use of her within the film a bit more. Quentin went on to say this about Sharon in an interview. In the case of Sharon, I thought there was something kind of wonderful about this person who lived, who has been defined by the tragedy of her death. Just the idea that she's driving around and doing errands, doing the kind of things someone might do in Los Angeles. She's living her life, which is what, in reality, she didn't get a chance to do. Sometimes we forget film is art, and in Quentin's version of reality, he and his characters get to save Tate. Inadvertently, as it was, they changed history once again. Whether or not that makes her a good film is debatable. In my opinion, with all due respect to Margot Robbie and the late Sharon Tate, I found the film was weaker with her inclusion, and her absence would not have affected my enjoyment of the film, if only for the fact that it may have led to a leaner and more focused final product. As a film and a fan of Tarantino, whose films I usually find very enjoyable with pieces that are usually very tightly connected and add up to something, this just felt lacking. I'd just like to say a massive thanks to anyone who got to the end of this, along with Josh and Matt for helping me refine this piece. I'd also like to give a massive thank you to Liam, who's given me plenty of fantastic advice for voicing this piece. You can find his YouTube channel in the description below. He created an audiobook series called The Shifterverse, which I highly recommend listening to. He did all of the sound design, writing, narration. Everything is all him, and it's great. You can find me on Twitter and more of our random thoughts about films and television on this channel.